When Officer Albert went to answer a call at a local bank, he didn't know exactly what he was getting into. Employees alerted him as soon as he arrived about a black woman who was frustrated and was alarming people with her attitude. The young girl was only 20 years old due to her young age. As soon as he arrived at the bank, Officer Robert noticed how irritated and frustrated the girl was with the care she received. She just wanted to take out some of the money she had saved in her account, but due to an eye problem, she couldn't find her ID card. Bank employees were being unhelpful, not helping or not understanding the situation of the young girl without her identification. The young woman was confused by the information, since she could inform all her data and did not understand why they did not want to accept it. It was then that a man who was also on the bench walked up to her and said, "You don't have the right color." Employees immediately saw the error and confusion that had ensued and called the police to help get the man out of the building. Due to her poor eyesight, she couldn't see anything straight. I was confused, tired and offended. Officer Robert decided to take an action that was a little outside the curve of his guidelines as a police officer. He knew it was up to him to make a human decision, even if he could have simply dragged the woman out of the building. According to the local newspaper, the officer took the woman in the police car to the police department and helped her get a new identification card there. Likewise, he took the man who had offended the woman, since what he had said was a crime of racism. After all the legalities were resolved, Robert took the woman back to the bank and helped get the money out of her account, continuing his network of kindness. He took the opportunity to tell those responsible for the establishment that their behavior in the face of the situation was not ideal, since they allowed other people to take money from their accounts without identification. But when it was this black woman's turn, they refused. Even though she knew all the necessary codes. The policeman informed that if it was a young black woman's desire, she could sue them and win the case for a good amount of money. Grateful for the police officer's help, the young woman informed that the process would not be necessary, but that she hoped that the bank would not make this type of mistake again. Likewise, she decided not to pursue the suit against the man who offended her, understanding that a few days of community service would be enough to teach him a good lesson. A few days later, the department's website posted a photo of Joseph and Robert helping the girl out of the mess that had ensued at the bank that day. And the clip quickly gained thousands of likes. One of the comments on the post read, "This cop is a saint. All this girl wanted was to maintain her financial independence. Thanks for your service." Someone else also made an important point in the comments. "We often hear bad things about the police. I want to thank the officer for his service, and I feel that if it was my sister or my mother in this situation, he would do the same." Being a very humble person, the police officer believes that what he did is no big deal and that it should be a common attitude due to the repercussions of the case. The racist woman who later found out that she actually worked at the bank was fired from her position. Her behavior was not tolerated by the population, who made several requests for her to be fired. The bank publicly apologized for the way the young woman had been treated and warned that the situation would never happen again in a similar situation. After starting an uproar mid-flight and being rude to employees, a passenger was taped to his seat. Flight attendants had no other option, as the passenger shouted from the rooftops that he was rich and feared no punishment. Flight attendants are trained to be compliant with all types of behavior that happen during travel. However, due to the high number of harassment and aggressions involving passengers, airlines began to train their employees to deal with extreme situations, such as the one that occurred. Or a 22-year-old passenger was accused of sexually harassing his flight attendants, who were on board the aircraft. When confronted by a male employee, the passenger physically attacked the flight belonging to the American airline Frontier Airlines. Minutes before the incident happened, several passengers noticed the young man's inappropriate advances on the two employees. After being confronted, the passenger started screaming at the top of his lungs how rich his family was and nothing would happen to him. He was bawling like a child, saying that his grandfather's estate was greater than the price of all that aircraft. The people around couldn't help but laugh at his face and the pathetic way he behaved, understanding that his behavior was detrimental to the peace of the aircraft. An employee kindly asked him to calm down and lower his voice. At that moment, the young man is filmed attacking a flight attendant who approached him. After that, the employee ordered his team to immobilize the passenger and secure him to the seat with adhesive tape, which was the only alternative they found to contain the young man until the plane landed. Even so, the young man managed to get rid of the tapes after struggling and screaming for help, But no one came to his aid, as this situation was a direct consequence of his behavior. The team fetched more tape and tied him even tighter to his chair. They finally managed to contain him, and as soon as the flight landed in Miami, the police were waiting to take him to the police station. The judge who heard his case decided that the best way to teach him a lesson would be to sentence the young man to 60 days in prison and 1 year of supervised release. The airline decided to suspend the flight attendants who arrested the boy, but, after criticism from the public, they stated that officials had been surprised with guaranteed payments during those days just for the situation to be investigated. The young man denied having touched the flight attendants, but after a series of witnesses, he confessed and was ordered to pay $15,000 to the victims of harassment and aggression, in addition to the days in prison. So, what did you think of the stories? Do you agree with the treatment received? Leave your thoughts here in the comments.